Okay, so we're going to look at how to rearrange the formula for gravitational potential energy, and then we're going to do the same for kinetic energy. So gravitational potential energy, which really should be written E and then a subscript like this, just E and then G, only it's being a bit strange, so I'll just write, yeah, that's supposed to be a G. And that's going to be equal to the mass multiplied by the strength of the gravitational field, or the gravitational field strength, multiplied by how high up the object is, or maybe you could say how high it's, or how much it's fallen. That would be the amount of gravitational potential energy it's lost. Yeah. So if they told you that the gravitational potential energy was, for example, 100 joules, so you knew the gravitational potential energy. And well, we know that if we assume that it's on Earth, if the question's set on Earth, then we know that the strength of gravity is 9.81 newtons per kilogram. It can also be written as meters per second squared, but let's just write newtons per kilogram. And we're trying to work out the I can't remember what was the mass of your question, but so in your question, the mass is 500 grams. We've got to convert that because we can see here we've got kilograms. We need to be having it in kilograms. So look out for that. So that's going to be 0.5 kilograms. Right. Okay. So we're trying to work out what the height is. So what we'd do is we would divide it. I would divide it by m and g together. And so on the left-hand side, I end up with gravitational potential energy is equal. We divide that by mass times strength of gravity, and that's equal to the height. So in our example, the height is equal to 100. And that's divided by 9.81 times 0.5. So we would have to, really these should have units, but it's being really weird with it's kind of going all a bit strange, so I'm just going to leave the units out. But yeah, you should, I think even in the working out, it's good to write the units. I won't go into why for now. But so if you want to multiply this together first and then divide 100 by that. So, but as long as you do that on your calculator correctly, then you should end up with 20 0.4, more, rounding it up. And you can kind of see that it's going to be about that because 9.81 is about 10. And if you do 10 times a half, it's going to be 5. So it's just going to be 100 divided by 5, which is going to be 20, isn't it? So because that's not quite 10, that's not quite 20. But so that's rearranging the equation for gravitational potential energy. Now let's rearrange the equation for kinetic energy. So I'll take the equation. Well, we can see the equation up here. Well, actually, yeah, let's take it down here. So maybe we can say that the thing has 100 joules of kinetic energy. And we'll say that the mass is the same. This could end up being your next question, to be honest. I didn't look. Oh, this stupid thing. No, it's a different question, but it may well be. You probably have to do something similar to this. So the mass is going to be 0.5. So kilograms. And we're going to rearrange the equation. we want to get what the velocity is. If the kinetic energy is 100 joules and the mass is that, we want to work out what the velocity is. So what we're going to do first is we're going to multiply both sides by 2. So I end up with 2 times the kinetic energy is equal to the mass multiplied by the velocity squared. The next thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by the mass. So if I just do a divide sign, like that, then we'll divide this by the mass. As you can see, that these two masses then cancel out. So now we're definitely a lot closer, aren't we? Oh, yes, bloody thing. So that's the velocity. That's the velocity squared. That is. It's not the velocity. We want to know what the velocity is. So if we know that the velocity squared is equal to all that, what's the actual velocity? What we do is we square root it. So if we square root that will give us the velocity. Okay, I've basically square rooted both sides. So if we do the example then, so what I do now is if I want to write it properly, I should have the subject over on the left hand side, shouldn't I? So let's put that there. And that like that. And then it means also that I can then do another equal sign and say that that's equal to the square root of 2 times 100 divided by 0.5. So that's equal to the square root of 2 times 100 is 200 divided by 0.5 is 400. Now let's involve a little bit of from the mathematic topic surds now then, shall we? Because this is going to be equal to the square root of 4 times 100, which is equal to the square root of 4 multiplied by the square root of 100. And both 4 and 100 are square numbers. Square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 100 is 10. So the answer to this question should be 20. Remember what the unit is? We're doing velocity, so meters per second. So that would be the answer in that case. Okay.